Hello, everybody. I'm David. I'm a TI, and here with Richard. He's a TI, and he's like me. He's been through hell and back. I met him a few years ago. I was needing some rent money and stuff, and he sent me $20 in the mail. Never forget it. It made my day. And But yeah, he's been having some health problems lately. And but Richard, I'm really glad that you put your effort in to come here today. Um, a lot of people has been scheduling just to waste spaces and then canceling stuff like that. But you'll have that when perps are involved. Anyway, what was your life like before Target, and what is it like now?
Um, my life before, let me, I got to get rid of this.
Yeah,
Sorry. Sorry about that. You're trying to, it just popped away. I hit the decline button. It's not up there for me to hit the decline button. I apologize. There's nothing I can do about it right now because I was
what?
screw up
There's
on
nothing wrong.
it's just it's a spam phone call. That's gone.
Oh no, it's
So
not even showing up on our end.
it's showing up on my end. I get a lot of
Oh,
spam phone calls with this new, when you change your number or you get a new, my old phone went inactive when I was in jail and I had to get a new phone and you just spend so much time saying, put me on your do not call list. And, it's frustrating, but let's get back to what we were saying. My life was hard before I realized I was being targeted. I was put into foster homes. I was molested as a child. That was the thing. Even before I'd really talked about it with counselors and stuff like that, it seemed that the people who were remote neural monitoring me knew all these things, and they really would have only gotten that information from either someone close, like my mother, who I tried to explain, hey, this is what's going on, and she just when I was 7, her honest to God ex-Nazi boyfriend held us at gunpoint and kept blowing off rounds right next to my head with a 410 shotgun,
hmm.
saying, "I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you." And so I do suffer from post-traumatic stress problems.
Oh, I know that feeling.
Um, I, uh, I did something that wasn't 100% legal, and I assumed a new identity when I was mm, 28, roughly. I did it in 1996. Um, can can I discuss how I had changed my identity?
Yeah,
Okay. I actually had gone
and
to.
why discuss how and why. But try to focus on the targeting aspect too.
Oh yeah. Um, well, I had actually filed something called a delayed registration of birth. They give you like a new birth certificate. I moved to Las Vegas. I joined both the Teamsters and the Carpenters Union, which was the first time I had a real job. Um, I was made dependent on Social Security as a child. I had an abusive parent. Um, Later on, when I was being targeted, you would know your own mother's voice or somebody you knew who was close to you like her boyfriend. I could hear their voices, and I wasn't sure. I don't think it was voice to skull because it went directly. Voice to skull goes directly in your head. I had the sensation as though they were using directed sound or something known as the long range acoustical device, which is identified as a voice of God weapons. I know, as you know,
Yeah,
Ed Rugebra, who is from the Netherlands.
yeah,
He posts a lot of juicy stuff about targeted individuals, and I started to actually sue one of my former employers over harassment at work, and stuff started to happen to me. That's when I knew I was being targeted. That's when I started.
yeah.
That's when I started
Same
having to.
here.
Were you suing somebody?
Yeah.
That's
A chicken
exactly.
factory I worked for. Yeah.
Really? Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah,
Um,
so that's one way you get targeted is if you get a lawsuit against a corporation, they'll have you targeted to try to keep you from winning the lawsuit and all that, to make you look crazy and all that.
to make you look crazy, they either put you in a jail or a mental
And
institution.
speaking of that weapon you were talking about, my first experience with V2K is I had tried to check into 6 different motels and they would all, oh yeah, we got a bed, and then they'd get a call halfway through register and, oh, we can't register you, we're full, sorry. So I walked out the sixth hotel in Springfield, Missouri, which was a Hampton Inn, and they made me hear my wife's voice and her friend Jennifer holding a conversation, and they're like, oh, look, he don't even know what to do, he can't even get a hotel room. And the friend Jennifer's like, yeah, he's confused. Look at him. So I start looking in cars and around and everywhere. Couldn't find him nowhere. So, I consider that V2K. You got a bunch of different devices you can use to pump sound. But yeah, I know what you're
Right.
talking about when you sound like two people's discussing you in the room.
Yes, exactly. And sometimes while this is going on, you and you're hearing V2K or directed sound. I have in my research found, and due to what I've actually had these experiences, I find there is a difference between V2K, which is voice to skull technology, and directed sound. There is a way to make sound or conversations appear in like a little envelope, so you're the only area, that little 4 or 5 foot area around your head that's hearing that. Um, I heard my own mother said, "Sorry, son, we're herfing off your other ear." And they just said that to confuse me because I didn't understand what was going on. And for a while, I literally, they messed with your head so much. I identified myself as I thought I was Jesus Christ. You said you were in Springfield, Missouri. Are you familiar with the Medical Center for Federal Prisoners in Springfield?
I was just passing through, man, and got perked big time.
Oh, yeah, no. I would say while I was institutionalized, the first institution I um, directly knew I was being hit with something and knew somebody was looking through my eyes was in Federal Medical Center, Lexington, Kentucky. Um, I did a whole 10 years of some real unjust time in the federal system,
Yeah,
and it
you know
got
what? They tested a lot of these weapons out in the prison system. I got a video I posted 4 or 5 videos ago where there's some evidence about that.
yeah. They were testing out the active denial system in Los Angeles County Jail. There's stories about it in on the internet. There's stories about it, and later Sheriff Lee Baca, who actually was sent to federal prison along with his undersheriff for covering up abuse of inmates. And I could see a lot of mentally ill, and I don't mean to disparage people who have problems, because when I say mentally ill, I mean people who are having problems or experiences that are out of the normal or mainstream experience of life. Um, there comes a time, I think, in my belief in what has happened to me, and I've talked to a few people who do understand it. There comes a time when you realize what's going on. You realize, hey, I'm being targeted. People are following me. People will walk up and say, I had people walking up after I spoke with Oscar Goodman, who was a Freemason, and the former mayor of Las Vegas, um, walking up and had Freemasons coming up and introducing themselves to me. And my V2K and or directed sound was from people saying they were with the Illuminati. And I got caught up in this. I've got on my Facebook page and I'm going to be taking it down. Me in a Mason's hat, and I'm dancing around and I'm thinking, well, wow, this is going to solve all my problems. It's not. They don't want to. They don't want to help you. They will deny. They
I'm
will.
listening.
They'll deny this is all going on. We don't do that.
So, but when did you first experience when you said you heard your mom doing that? Had you
Um,
been getting gang stalking stuff before that?
Oh yeah, I had been. I was getting group and gang oriented stalking. I literally I was being evicted from the Blair House Suites in Las Vegas, which is right by the Guardian Angel Cathedral. I was in church getting hit with directed energy weapons. I'm sitting there with a lady. I'm like, wow, I mean, it was hard. They were turning this stuff up. It was hitting me hard. Um, I was actually not only suing my former employer, but I was trying to decertify the union I was in because the union officials refused to represent the members in Las Vegas, and that was excuse me, that was Carpenters Local 1977, and it people would come up and say stuff to me. People would I was actually relating to my case manager earlier. There was this guy who was walking in front of me about 20 feet, um, saying things. You know, that's part of, I would identify that as street theater,
Indirect conversation.
and yeah, it's an indirect conversation, and they that's part of group and gang stalking, community based. And this guy later on, I ended up seeing him. He was one of the court clerks at the Clark County uh, court complex, and I saw him. And I've seen people. I've gone up into the police department to file a report about some of these things that were going on, and it would be like one person would be sitting there saying, "Oh, this guy's an asshole." Can I say that?
Yeah.
Okay. Um, they would say this guy's an a-hole, and one person who I know and recognize was in a police officer's uniform, and he was saying, "No, you just listen to me and do what I says." And um, I they pointed me towards the very famous Hell's Angels, saying they knew what to do and they would help me out. And I think they were just trying to set me up to get my butt kicked, you know,
Yeah.
to put me in a situation where I'm going to do something stupid. And I did. I sat there in front of their tattoo shop and I refused to leave. And they locked it up and left. The people who were there, it was called Pricks Tattoos in Las Vegas, which is oh God, Michael Finley.
Yeah.
He just left Las Vegas with a female, and he was talking to me about how heavy the targeting, the group and gang stalking, the directed energy weapons, and the V2K are in Las Vegas. Um, in 40 mind control patents, they talk about uh, basically they're piggybacking your V2K off of other sound. If there's no sound going on, then they don't like to actually be so loud. But it's not much sound they need to use to do that. Um, when I've experienced these things, at first it was scary, and now I'm like, well, why don't you just go away? Go kill yourself, because they'll tell you, and I know a lot of targeted individuals know they try and make you hurt yourself. They'll try and make you kill yourself
That or hurt others or just explode, period.
and end yourself up. You look like the bad person. You look like the crazy person. This is
Well,
this is this is what they do. Um, I was actually they had told me every one of them should see the White House first. I got on a plane from Las Vegas and went to the White House and was discussing some things with the Secret Service, and I distinctly felt a directed energy weapon coming from behind the fence of the White House. And if you Google directed energy weapon attacks at the White House in Washington, D.C., I would like anybody who sees this to look at that, because there are people who are complaining about that. And this is part and parcel of the Havana syndrome. And I'm sure you're familiar with that. A lot of people know about that. Um, it's uh
I'm
it's
listening.
oh, okay, that's cool. It it's it's scary. It's scary. I don't really
I hate that
advocate.
it's called Havana syndrome because there were so many victims of that before Havana, Cuba even happened. TIs have been going through that years before these diplomats went through it.
Oh yeah, I understand, but I guess that's the first time there was so many people who were mainstream, important, and credible. who described it and would not go away from their description. And I think that's part of it. There is a former CIA agent named Mark Polymeropoulos. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. He
Mm-mm.
was he's a former CIA agent who was hit with directed energy weapons in a motel in Russia, and he reported it. And if you just do your voice to text Google, and you say Mark Polymeropoulos hit by directed energy weapons, it starts to come up, and he has discussed and come out about that doing it. And this guy is a credible 26-year veteran of the CIA. Um, and they tried to tell him he was delusional, and he's all like, no, 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 no. Just like Havana victims. Um, and these people are so mainstream and credible, you know, you can't tell some of these people, oh yeah, you're either no longer a responsible person and you don't have this big important responsibility with the government, or you're delusional. You're what were the words they used? They used it as mass hysteria in Havana. That
Yeah.
that was not, it wasn't just the American officials, it was the Canadian officials too. And how are so many of those people having mass hysteria? So yeah, it's just not there.
Their voices get heard though, and ours don't. That's the crazy thing.
Yeah, well, it's due to people like you who are getting yourself more organized. I'd like to recognize Evelyn Dench of the UK. Um, she's the one who gave me the information that everybody should know. The country of Chile is the first country to ever enact in their constitution your neuro rights. That means these people are prohibited from hitting you with B2K, remote neural monitoring, and these other things that they're pointing at you, and they've codified this in their constitution. Makes me almost want to move there.
Right. Well, I mean, I really think even if they get neural rights here, it'll still go on. There's no way to
Oh
prove it.
yeah. Oh yeah.
But now
Um,
they're saying with the Havana syndrome, there is a diagnosis you can get eh, from them looking at your brain and stuff like that.
yeah. Some people are calling that the immaculate concussion.
Right.
You're getting hit with this stuff. Um,
So what did you experience first? Like, what was your first experience with targeting, and why do you think you were targeted?
oh, I think I was targeted because I was suing my former contract. You see, I actually studied paralegalism. I'm not a paralegal. I did not graduate, but I understood enough about the law, and I have a second cousin who is a good lawyer, and I talked to him. Um, I was suing a major contractor for discrimination, things they had said to me. Um, and people started following me around. I started to hear things. Um, I started hearing a lot of directed sound and words, spoken content that felt like it was being dropped in an envelope. I kind of think I can identify, because I've been going through it so much, the difference between directed sound. They're through 5G, and as you and I were just discussing 6G now. Um, there are ways to drop envelopes of sound around people and manipulate people in crowds, to make them think and hear things. And some of these people, I think, are some of these people who are there and they're hearing this plan to hear this. They are what we identify as perps, and they take direction. As for V2K, it was such an experience, and that happened to me in about 2010, when I can say that I first identified it. And I was also starting to uh, try to de-ratify my local union because they were not representing the members. Um, so
Which would have been the
that's
Teamsters, right?
no, it was the carpenters.
Okay.
It was the carpenters. I was a dual member. I also joined the Teamsters. that had more than one name. And I, you know, I guess maybe it wasn't the wisest thing, but I identified with some of my brother and sister union members that I had changed my name, things were going on. I started walking around with a recorder. Um, they had even said to me with directed sound, um, which I identify separately than from V2K, because directed sound you actually hear through your ears, and other people around you can hear it depending on how big of an envelope they either disperse it through Wi-Fi, or if they're using things like directed sound, it's just like pointing a speaker at somebody, but directed sound is really a targeted sound. It's like a beam of sound, and having
Right.
experienced it for
That's
so
weird
long.
though, because the other day I was hearing them a conversation about me. They were talking
Mm-hmm,
about me, and Holly was in the room. She couldn't hear it.
mm-hmm. That's that sounds like classic V2K.
Right. But it was, I was hearing it externally though. You see what I'm saying?
Externally,
Yeah.
okay.
Like, but see now that they've come out, you got audio spotlight, you got several different ways you can deliver this stuff now as far as
Yeah,
sound.
what is audio spotlight?
You know what it
Have
is,
you used
don't
it?
you? Huh?
That's the first time I heard it described in those two words, audio spotlight. It
Yeah, it's
I
like where they put a they had this commercial out about it. It was on the news, and they were for what they do is they'll put a piece of sound in two people. Like there'll be a these two people were in a restaurant, and they just this example. They put this sound and music in both of them's head, and they're dancing to it. Nobody else can hear it, but they're dancing to the music. So it's like they
mm-hmm,
put the audio in a spotlight wherever they want it. You see,
mm-hmm.
and wherever that
Yeah.
spotlight of audio is where you hear it.
Yes, exactly. I identify that as um an envelope of sound. And they can do that. That's the way I've always described it, as an envelope. But that, yeah, you're describing basically what sounds to me as directed sound. Anybody can Google some of these terms that you and I are using, and it's funny because we we as targeted individuals hear this, and we are familiar with this, and some of us are more open than others to um, Googling things. Um, Let me ask you a question. Um, I know you've got restraints of what you can and can't do. Um, would it be acceptable to hear an answer from my AI known as Alexa?
Yeah, you can listen. Yeah.
Okay, I want you to hear this. Alexa, what is voice to skull technology?
From boysestate.edu, the school seeks to grow Boise State into a national leader.
I'm speaking without teeth in my mouth, so give me one more second. Alexa, what is voice to skull technology?
Voice to skull technology, or V2K, is the purported ability of transmitting sound into a human skull, bypassing the ears, and delivering that sound only to the recipient.
Well, apparently you and I are not the only ones who heard this terminology, because it now has a standard answer, and she has another answer for remote neural monitoring. So the people who, I guess, supply this information through that AI, artificial intelligence, um, are hearing it enough from targeted individuals and others that they have an answer for it, because that AI will often tell you if they don't know anything about it. Um, you know, I don't know, I can't give you an answer. Her standard answer for remote neural monitoring talks about EEG data, which is your EEG. I'm not sure that they even really have to have an EEG on you anymore. They
No, because everybody's breathed in smart dust. The whole world's
Really?
through chemtrails and all that. Your body, everybody's got it in them.
Yeah,
Nanotechnology,
yeah,
and
yeah.
all
Some
they have
people,
to do is activate it.
yeah. Ed Rugerbroek from the Netherlands. Um, he's got a great page. Um, he's been teaching me how to pin post and bring things up so like that. He does talk about chemtrails and nanoparticles, and I guess we're breathing those in. And even with what they say it's aluminum oxide, and other things. We don't need to be breathing stuff like that.
Yeah, and that's why I'm a real big kicker. Like, I woke up this morning, I pressed 2 cloves of garlic and waited 10 minutes for the Allison to come out, and I ate the garlic twice a day. You can feel it cleaning. You'll feel 10 times better 20 minutes after you do that. What it does is it kills heavy metals, it shrinks tumors. I mean, garlic is very healthy for you.
And it tastes good to me.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
like the taste, but man, it definitely detoxes you. You know what I'm saying? It gets these metals out of you.
yeah. I can definitely go with a lot of holistic and natural cures for the ailments that you're feeling. Um, I don't think as us it because you get people who will say if you go to this guy and he'll buy a program for you for $175 and he'll put you out of the targeted
Yeah,
program.
that's a scam.
That's a scam. I've been getting hit with so many scams lately. I don't know if it's because they think I'm a sucker because of what I say in Facebook. there are there is a guy who's telling me if he could get me government grants. I think his name is David Johnson, and then he gave me some agent's name. They want you to take a picture holding up your identification number and acting like you're getting a big amount of money. And if anybody sees me like that, I'm sitting there listening. Okay, I'll hold up a sign for you. And it said, "Scam. Call the FBI. Don't, don't do that." So they tried contacting me again, and I'm just all like, you know what? To be honest with you, I didn't really report it to the FBI. I'm not looking to have any trouble with those people either. But I did put, scam there, and they tried to do that. They're telling me it's some agent, and they keep asking for gift cards. And there are so many desperate, targeted individuals and people out there who are desperate, who may not even realize they're targeted, or who may just be down on their luck and having a bad day of it. And to scam them out of 20, $50, it really hurts. And some of these people get so desperate they'll try anything. They'll go get a gift card. I did I did once go get a gift card, and you know what I told them? I got a gift card and I'm going to go spend it.
Yeah, right.
I
Could you
I
express? Could you? I'm trying to keep the interview focused on targeting. Could you
okay.
explain like your remote neural monitoring experience?
Oh yeah. Um, and I have been conscious of that happening, and then I became unconscious of it happening. I believe I was distracted. I was in a casino with my Teamsters partners I worked with, and I'm all like, they're looking through my eyes, and so I say, hey, Bobby, give me your bandana, and I tied it over my eyes, and I said, they're looking through my eyes, um, and they kind of laughed, and they grabbed me by the arm with me being blindfolded, and took me into their room, and they were all like, yeah, well, this stuff is out there. Um, I have now planted myself firmly in the understanding, especially while I was in jail, that people are remote neural monitoring me. And if anybody, I had a negative reaction to somebody when I told them, and I think I hit you up about it. Um, I am an unconsensual remote neural monitoring victim who has been hit with V2K, voice to skull electronic harassment. I identify like this, and I am now aware that I am in that program. I am a remote neural monitoring subject, and you hear them in your own head. They describe what you're seeing sometimes, and that's how I know I'm a remote neural monitoring and V2K victim.
Right. Do you let me see. Well, how did you figure out you were a TI or what the TI program was?
Um, Trial and error, looking in Facebook, seeing stuff in YouTube. Like you have these experiences, and when you start seeing other people have these experiences, you go, "Wow, that's what it is." And people like you and Ed, and Evelyn and Michael, have made posts, and they explain this to what's going on. And I've been looking at your posts for quite some time. I remember when you had the picture of you in a wheelchair.
Yeah. Yeah, I was in a
Uh,
wheelchair from about 4 or 5 months till I
yeah.
did physical therapy, and then now I can walk on my left heel. But if I step flat footed on my left foot,
Hmm.
I fall. I'm agoraphobic, so I haven't been back to the doctor since I got out of the hospital. I hadn't been I haven't been out of the house in 2 years
Wow. Wow.
because
You're isolated.
it's the paparazzi every time I step out, and it just makes me have really bad anxiety, and sometimes I don't play well with others, if you know what I mean.
I do. I ended up in jail over some of that.
Yeah. Sometimes it's best just to stay in the doghouse. Don't get off the porch.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah, that's I would say it's a learning process when you to find out your target, because it's the people who would target us don't just say, hey, it's this, it's that. They say confusing and misleading things to you through either V2K, directed sound, or directly to you. They just
Hmm.
will say they'll say things to you and then deny it. Um, which when that started happening and they were making fun of me, I got myself a digital recorder, and the difference between I don't believe B2K can be recorded, but I do know that these people screaming through a wall in a motel room, that can be recorded, because I started recording them and I play it back, and it's a digital meter. And I talked to the police, and I talked to people who ran the motel. I said, this is going on here. Look at the digital meter on my recorder. It's going up and down, and it's saying the same thing, even though they say these things very faintly. Yeah, you start to realize you're a targeted individual. Um, I had a really good experience today with a new counselor who understood it, and I explained to her, if you actually Google or look into even Facebook or wherever you want to go, YouTube, and you see targeted individuals, you will see protests from people all over the world, UK, Germany, and many other countries, where they're talking about it and they're saying, stop this stuff.
Right. And well, you wanted to keep that kind of quiet, but anyway, it was a good experience. It's crazy how many who's who in this world, ain't it?
Oh yeah, and the funny thing is, you're the one who's supposed to be crazy. I think it's just repulsive that they do this to another human being.
And it's like all these people who don't believe us live in this box. Uh they don't even understand what's going on in the real world and how crazy things have gotten.
It's hard to find people who are open minded enough, or who are not perps. You end up with people who are perps and what we call perpetrators, of these crimes, and these are crimes. Let's let's not fool anybody out there. Let's not fool ourselves, and let's not fool anybody out there. Um, I was in jail for 9 months just recently, and they gave me, with my health issues, um, I went from 180 pounds down to 153 pounds. And they basically told me, check this out. You got one or two choices. You can go to prison. This is what the attorney who came to me. You can go to prison, and he's going to give you consecutive terms, and you're going to do about another 7 years in prison. Or you can admit you did this stuff. You can say you stalked your doctor, and you'll be out of jail in 3 hours. That's a hard. Well, it's a hard and not such a hard uh, decision to make. I would,
You know, they wanted to
I mean,
put that
like,
on your, huh? They wanted to put that on your record, though. It's just another
yeah,
thing
they
they can
did.
get to make you look even more loony.
They did, and I'm now in a position now where they may be where I'm being sued for money that I couldn't pay or take control of on a credit card, where they may lien my house and throw me out of my house in a foreclosure.
Wow.
And I'm in that situation with my health, and it's snowing out here in Ohio.
And
So
didn't your mom leave the house to you?
she was going to, but she died first, and I ended up having to pay $42,000 into this trust.
Oh,
It just the way it ended up. Somebody else ended up as the trustee, and he's all like, "Well, I can't give it to you because I'm now the trustee." But he said, "You come up with 14 grand, and 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 out of the trust, I'll put up with the other like 28 out of your money." There was the best thing that she ever did for me is she croaked and left me some money. I hate to be that, but my own mother was one of my most violent uh, perpetrators. She set me up with people and around people and had them screw with my head and thought it was funny. Um,
wow.
I I I I have recently heard a good piece of music. It's called "The Little Boy and the Preacher Man" by Jesse Howard and New Breed, and he discusses why he if you look at his videos, it's child endangerment and child abuse, that how many kids are actually murdered by child abuse every year. They're put into the system. They're institutionalized. Um, you know, I'm not sure how open you
Yeah,
are,
I
how
went
open you
through
are with your aunt.
I went through abuse too. I was made to, I had to stay in my room all summer while my brother, I was like the Cinderella of the family, and I was locked in closets. Uh,
Yeah,
you know, my stepmom tried to drown me. I came up I came up and actually caught her in the face and knocked her glasses off, and swam to the creek bank coughing up water. It was just a horrible experience. And then my dad thought I was mentally unstable after that and tried to put me in a hospital until then. But the hospital told my dad, look, if you don't get her out of his life, we're not going to release him back into your custody until she's out of the picture. So he ended up
yeah.
having to leave her just to get me back because of the abuse. So I can relate,
Uh,
not sexual abuse. I never experienced that, but I can relate to physical abuse really bad.
yeah,
Like,
and
when you're glad to go to school just to get away from it all.
for miles on my bicycle.
Yeah, I love school. When I was in school, everybody else was like, why are you glad to be here? I'm like, well, if you knew what I had to deal with.
Yeah, if you knew what I was doing at home, this would be, what you're dealing with. Uh, yeah, I know my mother, when I often would say, why are you doing this? It seemed like every time she would start an argument, and then she would go to the courthouse and say, I need a restraining order because my son is going to attack me. And she would continually keep a restraining order on me. And then even as a minor, I mean, she put me into the foster care system. She literally took me when my dad had sent me over to her house from Northern California to Southern California. She took me into the police station and said, I don't care. I don't want him. I never want to see him again. And when she left, I told the police officer, hey, I never want to see her again either. And he said, I don't blame you. When I was in one psychiatric hospital that she put me into, and now that's something I I really think our nation and the people in the world need to realize is that psychiatric abuses are real, and um, the whole psychiatric system is meant to just corral, medicate, and dumb down and dope up people all over the world. Are you familiar with the Citizens Commission on Human Rights?
Uh-uh. I was
Um,
going to ask you if, because a lot of people say, well, it's impossible for your neighbors to attack you. I was going to
oh,
ask you to show us how easy it is to make one of these weapons. You remember the dude you was telling me about with Information Unlimited?
Yes, Bobby and Nini. Um,
This dude
it,
was
it,
making, I did a video when he shared this with me about this website, and it was selling direct energy weapons on you could buy it off the website. And then the
yep,
website disappeared, but Richard informed me
yep,
he died. But he
yep,
was making these weapons and he was putting it as pest control. But if you looked in the
right.
really, really small fine print, it said for protection of your house, all kinds of stuff.
Yep. Yep, exactly. I had about 3 or 4 conversations with Bob before that. I was surprised. I talked to the lady, and I'm looking online at something called the phaser pain field pistol and the phaser pain field generator, which were things he sold. The pain field pistol, you'd be surprised. He would literally say with cute little flame decals on it for $169, runs on D cell batteries. Um, and you just pointed at people, and there was discussion on his website as to I hope the pacing isn't bothering you too much. It helps me
Uh-uh.
with my stress. I know you've been in a cell before, and sometimes when you're anxious, you pace, and even in that small. But he discussed with me um, how one of his customers, and he had this posted on his site. One of his customers was sick of the neighbor's dog barking, so he pointed it at the dog barking, and the dog went away. He then said the same neighbor went out to his car, played his music real loud, so he pointed it at him, and he went away too. Um, some people who don't believe in or understand remote neural monitoring, let me give you another way they can follow you around from your neighbors' houses. And I discussed this with my counselor as well. Um, it's forward-looking infrared. It's FLIR. And anybody who's seen the show Cops or anything like that, or watched on the news when they get somebody who's out at nighttime and they're following them around and you can see them with the heat signature. Well, I just recently found that you can buy a FLIR camera attachment for your smartphone for about $189, and you can watch your neighbors walk around in their house on your smartphone. Nothing really that illegal about it, you know. It's crazy. You can Anybody can look it up. FLIR cameras, they sell attachments from $187 all the way up to a $30,000 big mounted video controlled, like how you can rotate and point and zoom in on your camera. They sell this
Yeah.
stuff on the internet. It's not
Yeah,
illegal.
he's got YouTube videos too,
Oh,
and
you
they're
mean
still
Bob?
up. I was
I
on,
didn't know that.
yeah, I just tried to share the screen, but I'm not logged into my YouTube, and so I don't really got time to put in the password and all that. But yeah, I was
Yeah.
subscribed to when you told me about him. I subscribed to him because I'm like, wow, look at these weapons, and it's just crazy how people try to deny that it can't be done from a neighbor's house or whatever, and it can be.
Oh, you know what? My local police department, until I had this dust up with this doctor who I released her information, and that's all I can say. And I thought she was perping on me. Um, the police showed up to my house, and I described to the dispatcher what was going on, what I'm feeling. I'm telling them, I had 2 active phones at the time, and I pulled out one, and I'm like, here, boom, 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 phaser paint filled pistol, and up behind that will come phaser paint filled generator, um, and it's a big box that looks like a speaker box. You can disguise it as a speaker box, and point it at your neighbor's house. But these phaser paint filled pistols, the guy just said, buy a lot of batteries and you can follow a person around. Anybody who doesn't want to believe in remote neural monitoring, who doesn't want to do their homework, hey, that's on them. But I can tell you, I know that it's commonplace to have FLIR cameras, forward-looking infrared. They follow a heat signature, your body's heat. And you can just sit there and follow him. I know I would go to the bathroom, I'd be on my toilet, it's coming into my back, so I know what direction it's coming from. Um, in your
Did you ever
experience,
ask this dude? Did you ever ask like the dude that makes that figured out how to make this stuff if he had ever heard of target individuals?
that is when he said, "Well, I don't know who I'm talking to. I only can discuss so much."
Oh, wow. Interesting, huh?
I had another conversation or two after that with him, but
But he refused to talk about it, huh?
well, he just I I think not knowing me, even though I called him 3 or 4 times and he started to know who I was, I think he was being cautious about the fact that he had described how to surreptitiously point these devices at people, because owning them for pest control, like you and I had discussed, is not a crime, but pointing them at people is. And the
Right.
police, my local police department, they went and knocked on his door and said, "Well, we need to come in and have a talk with you," because I pulled up the tabs of these devices on the phone. I'm saying, "Hey, this is what he's pointing at me." And they said they didn't see it. I mean, they didn't actually do a search, but they looked around. I mean, he knew the cops were coming, and he could have easily put something away. It just, yeah, no, I don't talk to my neighbor here over there. I do talk to my other neighbors, and I told them what was going on, and I have showed people these books that I've got. Um, I'd like to let anybody who is not aware of this know that Bob's books are still out there. Um, is it okay if I point the camera at these books and show the covers of them?
My bad. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Give me just a second here. Are you getting a good picture? Because
Yeah, electronic groggets for the evil genius. Gadgets, my bad.
yeah, you got it. I got you. Here is the second edition.
Electronic gadgets for the evil genius. Second edition. Fiber optic, infrared, and laser space age projects.
This
And laser phaser pain ray gun. Other work, I can't see because of light.
uh,
Work something
other work,
projects.
other working space age products, and these are all books by Bobby and Nini.
Yeah,
Uh,
and they tell you how to make this stuff, right?
yeah,
So it's that
and
easy. You know,
it's
people
that
don't
easy.
believe it's going on. It's that easy.
It's not only that easy, but when you make them yourself, there's no record of you doing it. He tells you how and where to get parts and materials to build this, how to do it, and he told me a good 12th grader could make one of these things. So I don't talk to my neighbor. I mean, he used to always walk around with a gun on his hip, and it was funny. I was out there having a couple of shots at Jack Daniels, digging out my drain pipe over here at my house, and I mean, I heard it. Well, and he had told me before, he says, "I don't drink anymore." Um, it, it's you're sitting there and you're hearing people say, "Does he know what's going on?" And there'll be a person sitting there acting like, "Yeah, he knows what's going on," and they're having a conversation that a perpetrator is also hearing this. One of their perps, they're getting directions and or they're taking cues from a pre-planned conversation, a pre-written conversation, and I find that my instincts have gotten sharper. That I know when I start hearing that, and there's somebody who's acting like they know what's going on, but they're not acting like it's repulsing them or that it's bothering them. They're trying to get you to have a conversation with this person. They're trying to direct this conversation. Um, and and I have to say I'm not 100% sure if they're doing that with just directed sound or if they're doing that with V2K, because not all people who hear V2K are being targeted. It's some of these people are perps and they agree to play along with some of this stuff.
Right.
They try and get
Yeah,
you
they
involved in
communicate through
situations.
synthetic telepathy.
That's the other word they use. Yes, synthetic
Uh,
telepathy. Telepathy. That is one of the words for V2K, synthetic telepathy. Um, it's it's becoming more well known, and I hope it becomes well known enough before I pass away, so that
did you ever
we
experience smear campaigns or anything?
oh yeah, absolutely. Smear
Where all of a
campaigns.
sudden everybody just seemed to act weird and you wonder what they've been told about you and stuff?
Oh yeah, everything, everything from the times when I was molested as a child, where and my mother actually was having conversations. Oh yeah, I know this guy who's trying to hit on you. I know this guy. Hey, if you want to make some allowance, you should probably go hang out with this guy. I mean, that was disgusting, disgusting. I married a very beautiful German woman. I like women, but I had all these experiences with feeling like I was being sex trafficked.
Right.
Right. These people ended up knowing, you know, somehow knew my mother or one of my aunts, and they say, "Oh, it's okay if you're gay." Hey, I guess some people have their own opinions, but I like women.
Right.
You
Uh,
know,
let's see, we got about 15 minutes up.
yeah.
Um, how has this affected your health?
Oh God, it's everything from headaches, dizziness, nausea. It's affected my mental health as well. Um, they'll tell you you're paranoid, and at a certain point, as a targeted individual, it is negatively affecting my health. And I'm not paranoid. I just have a healthy distrust for people. And
Right.
I've told that to doctors I've seen. I'm not being paranoid, but at a certain point, when this is going on, it affects my health. I turned into a shut-in. I'm unfocused. So it's my physical and mental health, which your physical and mental health are kind of intertwined.
Yeah.
Um, so it has negatively affected my health with nausea, headaches. As a kid, I never had headaches before. My head was spinning. I can feel directly that. I've got pictures of my back and neck. You can see, and I've seen other people who put up similar pictures. There's speckling, there's marks, there's redness on my back and neck. I've got pictures
Tinnitus,
of
you got
it.
any tinnitus?
Oh yeah, and I not only have tinnitus that comes in and out. I don't believe tinnitus is an organic um, illness. I believe that we're being targeted. Um, it had, if I understand you've done a little time yourself, haven't you?
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe have you ever heard of Coast to Coast AM?
Oh yeah, I used to listen to it nightly, Art Bell and all them. Yeah.
Yeah, well, George Norrie is
Nori,
suffering.
yeah.
He's suffering from very severe tinnitus. And when I hear that, I'm thinking you're a targeted individual. And if you know Art Bell, let me get rid of this person.
They actually had Gang Stalking Victim on. I got one of them episodes if you scroll through my videos of Coast to Coast on there.
They got one of your videos?
No, I got one of Coast to Coast videos on my YouTube talking about target individuals and stuff. So he did cover that at one time.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. They discussed targeting, tinnitus, George Bell, Doctor oh God, Doctor Cooper,
William
who
Cooper.
William Cooper from San Antonio.
Yeah, the one that wrote Behold a Pale Horse.
Behold
Yeah.
the Pale Horse, exactly. This is discussed. Um, great. This is discussed greatly in their programs as well. And people kind of look at you, and some people are try to be supportive, but it's hard to know what to do. Even if you're sincere, it's hard to walk a person through some of the targeting and the problems that come with that. Um, because people who don't know, people who just sincerely are not familiar with what we're going through, and see some of us, but by the time they've worn you down and you're homeless, and you're in the streets, you look like a mess. And and some people don't know how to help you, and some people will do some minimum, uh, send you $20 and because they know you're sincere and you're going through a hard time and they can identify or buy you a meal, you
But when
know?
you're a real, if you're, but I know you can relate to this. If you're a real target individual, you could have $6,000 or $7,000 homeless and be miserable, and everything you do still fail. They will put a stop to it. You can have all the money you want and be miserable
Oh
because you're
yeah,
blacklisted everywhere. Real TIs are blacklisted. Every
uh-huh.
business they go into knows before they get. You know what I'm saying?
Uh, yeah, I'd be using my debit card or my food stamp card, and I'm getting ready to punch in the PIN code, and I can hear somebody telling me either through V2K or directed sound, um, actually telling me what my PIN number is.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean,
Uh,
it
mm, I'm trying to think. We got 13 more minutes. So
we're good.
I'm gonna blend this last stuff in together. How do you cope with all this, and what advice would you give to new target individuals going through this?
Um, I'm coping with it. I'm coping with a lot of problems this has caused me. Um, I'm coping with it by trying to be upfront and honest with other people without acting too excited. And that is the advice I would try to give to somebody who's just realizing they're being targeted. Try to deal with it calmly. Try to deal with it rationally. Try to make a good appearance. Clean yourself up. Make sure you get a good shower. I was going into my shower trying to get cleaned up, and that's when I was feeling hardcore directed energy weapons. They don't want to clean. They don't want you cleaned up. They want you looking bad. They want you looking dirty. Do your best to take care of yourself. Um, I saw Evelyn Dench from Ed Rugaba's page, and uh, I saw Evelyn, and she is such a good and well focused lady who's describing. She's clean, she's professional looking, and she's describing what's going on.
Right.
Um, and she's talking about B2K, her head spinning, headaches, and feeling all these things, just like Ed does. Ed is a um, Ed, Ed is a warrior. He puts other people's posts up on his page, and he says, I'm because people end up in jail or they disappear altogether.
Right. Her last name's what?
Dench, Evelyn Dench, Dench.
Okay.
She's in the UK. Now, I have seen more than one Evelyn Dench, but if you see her videos, she talks about it. She's wearing like a headscarf, not like the Muslim headscarf. She's just wearing a regular like headscarf, and she talks about what she's going through in my videos. I'm Another thing I would say to somebody who is new at targeting is to try and do your research. If you can get a smartphone, you've got a computer in front of you, and you can start Googling and you can start looking for things that either you described or for things that you've been told. Like it took a while before I knew to say V2K, voice to skull technology.
Right.
So trying to remain calm is help. There is another thing that I found that works. If you can, since your brain is the computer they're messing with, your eyes are the cameras, and your ears are the microphones that are going into your computer here. Um, sometimes playing multiple sources of sound, like turning on the TV and turning on the radio.
Multitasking definitely throws remote neural monitoring off. Yeah.
Yeah, the sounds that you keep getting it from different sounds, and it kind of seems to help in slowing down with that. I've
Yeah.
I've got I've got so many Alexa devices around the house, and sometimes I just turn them all onto a different program. I'm hearing this music. I'm hearing everything from Mariah Carey to Jesse Howard and New Breed. You start hearing these different things, and it's like it seems like they appear to want to attack you more the more focused you become. Um, but
What it
it
does
seems
though too is it keeps your brain from focusing on what they're trying to do to you. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
it does. It seems to help like that.
Yeah.
So if you have to do that, and then sometimes yeah, you kind of got to let go and just not let them take control. I'm not going to let you for this one moment. I am not going to let you throw me off. I'm not going to let you hurt me. And you try to you try to let it go. And when you're not focusing on what they're doing and you're focusing on what you need to do to keep your life together, um, it seems to help.
Right.
You know, some of us targeted individuals are little bumblebees. You know, the bumblebee doesn't know that it's not supposed to be able to fly. And I've seen a few people who really have soared. Who continually put posts out there. I see your post more often, and I don't know because we had to refriend each other, you and I. I went to
Yeah.
I went to jail for a while over some of the stuff that happened with my targeting, and I had to get a new phone and everything else, and a lot of my friends dropped off, and so I had to refriend you and a few other people. Um, it's it's a process. It's a learning process. We are learning as targeted individuals. We are learning how to overcome and adapt to what we're dealing with.
Right. And that's your
Um,
only answer. You know, waiting around on lawsuits and all that, you're not guaranteed to get no results. So you better find a way to deal with it real
yeah,
time, you know?
I am. I know when they pink slipped me when I went to Fisher Titus Medical Center here in Norwalk. And I told them I was in my car and I couldn't move. I had a plastic container in my car and I all my guts were just coming out in there. Not literally my guts, but you know, I had to go to the bathroom. I couldn't pull over. I had to like pull over my I was just so affected by the directed energy weapons that had been hitting me and the nasty and known long range acoustical devices. I got to tell you, they pink slipped me, and at that hospital, I was not safe. They came in, they gave me an EKG, and I told the tech who was doing it, I said, "Isn't this how they can remote neural monitor you? Look through your eyes and listen through your ears." And you know what she said? She said, "Yep, it's this information we could do that with." And so later on, I had a problem with one of the nurses, and I said to her, "Hey, I'm an unconsensual remote neural monitoring victim who's been hit with V2K, voice to skull technology, electronic harassment." And she says, I know. That's the end of it." And I was all like, "Wow." You know, I was in my bed in that hospital getting hit with directed energy weapons. I got to say, one of the best things that I can suggest for somebody who's suffering through this, and it's just their word. Go out, spend the $110. It cost me $230 to get this $109 meter um, delivered to my house real quick. I had to go through a source because I was getting elevated prices on it, and I was so desperate because I knew to have this. It's proof, and I put the video on there. My experiences with directed energy weapons have now basically ceased. I have had some V2K, excuse me,
What kind of meter is
and
this?
oh, here it's the Tri-Field TF2. It's an EMF meter.
Yeah.
Okay. It has settings for standard, electric, and magnetic uh, electric and magnetic
And radio waves, RF.
and RF. It's got weighted, standard, and an RF meter. And it started going off, and while I was getting headaches. And if you go to my Facebook page, there's a lot of Richard Daggets out there, believe it or not. If you go there, you can see my meter going off, and I just calmly explain to people it's going off, and I'm concerned. I didn't want to make any statements that I was actively being hit like that, because I'm at a point where I'm filing bankruptcy to try and save my home. So I was cautious about how I said it. I just said, I'm concerned, and my meter's going off. The last phone call that came in, I know, is from a public service, and I can't mention their names, but that was probably probation, and that's the first time I've ever put them off on a call. But I explained to her that I was being interviewed today, and this has actually been very therapeutic to me to speak with another TI who knows what's going on. And I know a lot of people who follow you give you a lot of respect, because you've been fighting your way out of a wheelchair and out of doing time. And I was glad to reconnect with you.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know,
I'm glad you reached out. We got about 3 minutes. But yeah, hopefully maybe you can, because I know you got a lot more to talk about.
yeah,
Maybe you could get a lot more stuff together where you'd be more organized, so we could do
yeah.
another interview, because I know you know a lot of information
That's
that we
I
didn't
sit.
get to cover today.
Yeah. Are there any other real important questions you got that you want to cover?
I don't have time right now. I have to, I talked to my girl on the way home because she gets stalked and all that, and I have to guide her through it, so to
Yeah.
speak. Yeah, so that's why I have to go.
All right.
But yeah, I'm gonna put this up. I will send you the link when I get done, and I'm gonna stop recording right now. I really appreciate you coming out.
Hey, I appreciate you being there for me, bro.